Hey guys, and welcome to Storytime with Jester. Today I will be going over the Giant series, G1, 2, and 3. Now, sadly, I do not own the individual versions of the modules, but they did compile all three into this one module here to make G1 through 3. From what I can tell, by only owning the PDF versions of the originals, it's pretty much all they did was transfer them all three into here with no alterations, other than lacking the cover artwork of the individual modules. Because you've got first module leads straight into the second module, leads straight into the third module, with no other connection other than what was intended in the originals, which were in fact tournament modules for Gen Con. And actually, even on the front of this, it says it's a Origins 79 tournament module. So I'm assuming they played this in whatever tournament that they were doing at the time. These originally came out in '78, and the copyright of this particular one is 1981. On the front you see all the different versions that are depicted in each individual, being the Hill Giant, the Frost Giant, and the Fire Giant, and even a couple of Hellhounds here attacking a village. That village would be probably somewhere in the land of Steric, possibly the Yeomanry, but and then later on in some of the updates, you actually had them attacking and overrunning completely the land of Geoff. But in any case, what we're dealing with today are just the modules, these three modules. Now, the G1 through 3 module has fold-out covers that have all of the maps that you will encounter or need in 3 modules. And like I said, it's basically, as far as the text goes, straight up out of the originals. Eat my coffee this morning. So, you guys know me. I love artwork, and the artwork in here is just so incredible. I mean, just from the first piece alone, the picture of the steading of the Hill Giant chieftain. That's just an incredible piece of artwork. I mean, you could just see yourself in that setting, looking down upon that fort of his. That's what I love about the old school artwork. It's just like it just evokes so much imagination just by looking at it. Then you've got one of the Hill Giants putting some stuff up on a hook, and one of the player characters trying to hide behind some of his things so that it's not discovered. Probably a thief. And then you got some Hill Giantesses in the kitchen with one of their orc lackeys, and looks like the orc kind of ticked off one of the Hill Giantesses. Looks like he knocked over something on the table. She's not too happy about it. And you've got this lovely artwork here staring into the face of a Ramoraz. That is not something you want to wake up to in the morning. And then this would be the Frost Giant and his pet cave bears. A couple fire giants. Great scene here with the fire giant leader with his hellhounds being attacked by the party. On the back, they have a list of the pre-generated player characters that was used in the tournaments that your players are more than welcome to use as well if they do not wish to bring their own. One of the things that I love about the old school modules is that they leave little tidbits of information for the characters that pay attention to in order to discover things. And what I mean by that is, yeah, I'm needing some more coffee. Holy cow! So like I read the other day, I think it was yesterday actually, an article on the Forgotten Temple of Tharizdun, and the writer was saying how one of the things he was disappointed about in the module was that after the party clears out the top level, that basically all the rest of the module was pointless because it didn't really do anything. I actually disagree with that wholeheartedly, because that is what made the module so great, was all the stuff after the fight. And I'll get into that in more depth when I do a video on Forgotten Temple of Tharizdun. But I digress, that's yet to come. What I actually mean is, can be found, let's see here, what page is it? It is on the second level, the dungeon level of the steading of the Hill Giant Chieftain. It is room 17A and 18. And I read 17A, Weird Abandoned Temple. This room is of faintly glowing purplish-green stone, carved with disturbing shapes and signs which seem to stare out from the walls and columns, to shift position when the watcher's back is turned. Touching the walls makes one chilled, and contact with a pillar causes the one touching it to become nauseous. At the far west end of the temple is an altar of pale, yellow-gray, translucent stone. It feels greasy to the touch, but it has no effects upon those who touch it. Behind this altar is a flight of low, uneven steps which lead to an alcove with a concave back wall of purplish-black, glassy, appearing substance. If any creature stands before this wall and gazes upon it for one round, a writhing, amorphous form of sickly mauves and violets will be seen stretching into formless members toward the viewer. This sight causes the creature seeing it to have a 50% chance of becoming insane. If the creature does not go insane, a touch upon the curving will cause a scarab of insanity to appear upon the altar for the first one doing so, and a 5,000 gold piece gem for the next. Now, if the DM glosses over this and does a poor job of describing what they see, or if the players just don't even bother asking what the room looks like, because it doesn't appear like there's really anything in there, for all those murder hobos and treasure hoarders, this will go completely unnoticed. But yet this was very carefully placed in this dungeon. It has absolutely nothing to do with this dungeon, other than it's a part of the dungeon. But as far as the characters of trying to defeat the varying giants in the 3 modules and going on to their next quest in the Vault of the Drow and the Queen of the Demon Web Pits, has no bearing on that whatsoever. But yet it's here. I go on to room 18. Vestry. It's got a little question mark in parentheses. Like, was this a vestry? The visible walls of this place bear faint traces of disgusting murals and bas-relief depictions of nasty things. A flight of ridged, step-like stones slants steeply downwards towards the south, but this way is completely blocked by tons of stone blocks and rubble. Now, 18 leads off right away from 17A. Now, any old schooler who has ever played a specific dungeon that I might have just mentioned a few minutes ago will immediately know what's going on here by the description that I just read. And of course, I mean, this, if you cleared out the tons of rubble, will actually lead to a hidden temple of Tharizdun. Because the descriptions in here are almost identical to the descriptions of things that you see after you've defeated the denizens of the Forgotten Temple of Tharizdun. And so it's just a nice little Easter egg that Gary left for those who have the eyes to see. And it's that type of thing that I just find just thrilling in these old school modules. Like I said, you could just go completely bypass that and it bear no effect on your adventure in these modules. But for the DM who is trying to world build and have his players go through a Tharizdun story arc, this is very good clue here of what they can come back to at a later date and maybe unearth. Now, it doesn't give you anything beyond that, so it's completely up to the Dungeon Master to flesh out what this hidden temple of Tharizdun is and what might be inhabiting it and what strange things and evil artifacts or whatever might be found inside. But nevertheless, it's a little snippet of something to come later. And those kinds of things are found throughout all of the, or most of, I should say, the old school modules, especially the ones that Gary wrote. And Gary, I mean Gary Gygax, the original creator of Dungeons and Dragons. So anyway, so what I have here is the Queen of Spiders super module. And what this does is it takes the Giant series, combines it with the Drow series and the Queen of the Demon Web Pits for, I think what they titled it, GDQ 1 through 7. So it's 7 modules that were originally linked together, but combined in one super module. Now, what is different about this than what they did here is, unlike here, where, like I said, they just took 3 modules and just basically transported all of the text and pictures straight into here with no editing or conversion or anything, or additions or anything. It made it into one little book as opposed to carrying around 3. What this did, it expounded and gave you a story, and that's what I love about this book. Not only did it take the modules and transport them into one giant book that you could have on one, it added story, it added more detail to the existing modules, of which I'm about to go into. So, where this starts off, this actually is intended to dovetail behind the Scourge of the Slave Lords super module, because the first thing that the players encounter is the revenge of the Slave Lords. They're sitting in a tavern, chilling, drinking, eating, having a good old time, maybe talking about what they're going to do next, and they're attacked by one of their nemesises that they fought, the Drakenscrabs. Of course, the clues that are left behind those that they defeat during this attack lead them on a trail to the land of Steric. And so this module gives you that encounter, gives you the clues why they're going to be going into these lands to fight giants, but they don't know they're fighting giants yet. They just think they're tracking down what they didn't get rid of completely with the slave lords. So they've added wilderness encounters. They've added the encounters on their journey to this place. They get into Steric and they discover that just bands of people are fleeing in their general direction, and that gives them an encounter with some of these people to find out what's going on. Why is everybody running like crazy? And then that leads them to discover the bubble of Loth that is over Istavan, which is the capital of Steric. It gives another encounter, which I just love. It takes place at a tavern, where the tavern, that little village or whatever you want to call it there, is attacked by a band of ogres and a frost giant on a mastodon, no less. Okay, so anyway, it's just things like that lead up to it. So you get the prologue, and the first 2 chapters are all new material from the original modules. Then chapter 3 is the Steading of the Hill Giant Chief. Chapter 4 is the Glacial Rift of the Frost Giant Jarl, and the chapter 5 is the Hall of the Fire Giant King. Then it goes straight into the D1 through 3, pretty much without any additions. There might be a few little connection points there, but not so much as the prologue in chapter 1 and 2. Takes you all the way through till you get to Demon Web Pits, and yeah, that's pretty much it. But it's the introductory material that was added. Plus, like I said, it gives you a little bit more detail on some of the things, like let's see, which one is it? I think it actually might be. Yeah, it's the Steading of the Hill Giant Chieftain, where there are 2 NPCs that have been captured, so they're prisoners. The original modules, whether it be the first 3 or the compilation here, just list them as their race and gives their stats. The race, their class, and it gives their stats. But this fleshes them out a little bit more, gives them names, which I think was a needed addition, especially since they're intended to be henchmen or followers of party once they're rescued. And so they needed names. I mean, not that the Dungeon Master can't make up names himself, but, it's a nice little touch. I thought it was cool. So just, things like that. So right now, I'm going to turn off the camera and pick back up on something that I hope you like. So, be right back. Okay, so here we go, guys. You know me, I love miniatures and being able to flesh out the modules with those. And so what you have here first, if I can get my trusty light on it. Here is the encounter with the Mastodon and the Ogres and Frost Giant. Now, of course, Ralph Partha didn't come out with a Frost Giant on a Mastodon, but it came pretty close. This is supposed to be a Hill Giant on a elephant. In my campaign, I didn't have the Frost Giant. I had it just being an ogre. All of them were ogres. This was just an ogre leader on the elephant. But so that's the first encounter that they have of giants. And then moving on, we have just I didn't do a very good job of fleshing out the encounter here. It took me a long time to find a suitable hill giant, but basically you just got a dwarf fighting the hill giant there. But I was able to flesh out a lot on the frost and fire giants, I think. So we've got the Remoraz there. We've got the Frost Giant Jarl and his two white dragons. You've got the ice walls in the background there, and with some ice stalactites all around them. Tucked away in the corner there is a cloud giant. He's not part of this encounter, but you encounter cloud giants in the 3 modules. So I've got those kind of tucked away in corners. Like down here you see, where is he? Here he is. You see a stone giant. And over here you see a Furbolg. And tucked away in the corner back there, as we get a little bit of light on the subject, you have a storm giant. But anyway, so that was the frost giant encounter. Here is the fire giant encounter. And again, you've got the fire giant and his hellhounds and a red dragon with some lava pits fighting the party. And coming back here, you've got the Hydra. I can't seem to get a good lighting on this thing, unless it's really looking good on your side, because it's not on mine. But anyway, and then backing away further, we've got where they're starting to encounter drow. Now I love this piece of the drow, this drow piece here, because it looks like just like the cover of one of the modules that I'll be going over when I get to the drow series. If you can maybe, let's see if I can get the camera angled around here a little better to see it. Maybe not. But in any case, and then you've got the Displacer Beast. And that wraps up this edition of Storytime with Jester. I hope you enjoyed my talking about the Giant series, G1, 2, and 3. And you'll be seeing a lot more of this book in the next couple of videos as I go over the Vault of the Drow and the Queen of the Demon Web Pits. So don't forget, guys, to hit the subscribe button so that you can get notifications on when I post more videos. And always leave a comment because they are very welcome. And until next time, and as always, see you soon.